to my podcast, Love and Courageous. I'm your host, Demetris. And on today's episode, I'll be speaking about Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who said that people with autism will never have a job or pay taxes. But also, I will be talking about autism and exactly what it is and the symptoms. So on April the 16th, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who is the Secretary of Human and Health Services, held a press conference. In the press conference, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. was responding to a new study by the CDC that found 3% of children in America have autism. Now, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. said the rise in diagnosis constitutes an epidemic and vowed to identify the environmental causes responsible for the disorder. Now, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. previously promoted a scientifically debunked claim that autism is caused by vaccines and denied that the uptick in diagnosis can be explained by experts learning more about the disorder. He said, I quote, "One of the things I think that we need to move away from today is this ideology that the autism prevalence increase. The relentless increases are simply artifacts of better diagnosis, better recognition, or changing diagnostic criteria. This epidemic denial has become a feature in mainstream media." He also continued by saying, "Autism destroys families, and more importantly, it destroys our greatest resource, which is our children. These are children who should not be suffering like this. These are kids who will never pay taxes. They'll never have a job. They'll never play baseball. They'll never write a poem. They'll never go out on a date. Many of them will never use a toilet unassisted." Now, as he continued in the press conference, he did also say that the Human Health Services are preparing to launch new studies to identify precisely what the environmental toxins are that are causing autism. He said that he hoped the Human and Health Services have an answer by September of this year. But however, a lot of experts say that that is not enough time, especially considering autism research has been prioritized by medical and scientific communities for the last several decades. Since Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has made these falsely claims about people with autism, he has received a lot of backlash for it. Rosie O'Donnell was one of them who called him out, making a statement on Instagram. I quote, "Robert Kennedy, you should be ashamed of yourself." Also, Holly Robinson Peete took to social media to speak out to support her 27-year-old son, RJ, who was diagnosed with autism at the age of 3, who now works as a clubhouse attendant for the Los Angeles Dodgers. She said, I quote, "My 27-year-old son with autism didn't destroy our family. He gave us purpose and unity. Oh, and he paid taxes." Now, what is autism? Autism spectrum disorder, also known as ASD, is a neurodevelopmental disorder, meaning it affects how the brain develops and functions. Autism impacts how a person perceives and socializes with others, causing problems in social interaction and communication. Autism also limits and repetitive patterns of behavior. And the term spectrum in autism spectrum disorder refers to the wide range of symptoms and severity. Autism includes conditions that were considered separate. So autism, Asperger's syndrome, childhood disintegrative disorder, and an unspecified form of pervasive developmental disorder. Autism spectrum disorder begins in early childhood and causes issues functioning in society, socially, at work, and in school. Kids a lot of times show symptoms within the first year. A small number of children appear to develop normally in the first year and then go through a period of regression between 18 and 24 months old when they develop autism symptoms. Now, here are a few symptoms that children tend to show when they have autism: reduced eye contact, lack of response to their name, or indifference to caregivers. Now, some children may develop normally for the first few months or years of life, but eventually they become withdrawn or aggressive or lose language skills they already acquired. Now, these signs are typically seen by the age of 2. Now, kids with autism spectrum disorder have a unique pattern of behavior and level of severity from low functioning to high functioning. Some kids with autism have difficult times learning. Some have signs of lower than normal intelligence. Now, some other kids with autism have normal to high intelligence. They learn quickly yet have trouble communicating and applying what they know in everyday life and adjusting to social situations. Because of the mix of symptoms in each child, severity can sometimes be difficult to determine. It's based on the level of impairments and how they impact the ability to function. Now, here are a few symptoms that kids or adults with autism have when it comes to social communication and interactions. 1. Resists cuddling and holding. Seems to prefer playing alone, retreating into his or her own world. Doesn't speak or has delayed speech, or loses previous ability to say words or sentences. Can't start a conversation or keep one going, or only starts one to make requests or label items. Speak with an abnormal tone or rhythm and may use a sing-song voice or robot-like speech. Does not appear to understand simple questions or directions. Doesn't express emotions or feelings and appears unaware of others' feelings. Does not point at or bring objects to share interests. Inappropriately approaches a social interaction by being passive, disruptive, or aggressive. Has difficulty recognizing nonverbal cues such as interpreting other people's facial expressions, body postures, or tone of voice. Also repeat words or phrases verbatim but doesn't understand how to use them. Now, people with autism typically have a pattern of behavior. Here are a few some. Perform activities that could cause self-harm, such as headbanging or biting. Develop specific routines or rituals and becomes disturbed at the slightest change. Has problems with coordination or has odd movement patterns, such as walking on toes, clumsiness, has odd, stiff, or exaggerated body language. Is fascinated by details of an object, such as spinning wheels of a toy car, but doesn't understand the overall purpose or function of the object. Is unusually sensitive to light, sound, or touch, yet may be indifferent to pain or temperature. Doesn't engage in imitative or make-believe play, and performs repetitive movements such as hand flapping, rocking, and spinning. Now, some kids with autism spectrum disorder become more engaged with others and show fewer disturbances in behavior. Some people with autism with the least severe problems eventually lead to living a normal or near normal life. Others, however, continue to have difficulty with language or social skills, and the teen years can bring worse behavioral or emotional problems. Now, when it comes to newborns, babies do develop at their own pace, but babies with autism spectrum disorder normally show signs of the delayed development before the age of 2. So here are a few signs for newborns that delay in cognitive, language, and social skills. They do not respond with a smile or happy expression by 6 months old. Don't mimic sounds or facial expressions by 9 months. Don't gesture such as point or wave by 14 months. Don't say a single word by 16 months. Don't play make-believe or pretend by 18 months. Don't say 2-word phrases by 24 months, which is 2 years old. Loses language skills or social skills at any age. Also doesn't babble or coo by 12 months. Now, when it comes to what causes autism, there is no known cause. And also, there is no link between vaccines and autism spectrum disorder. But however, here are a few risk factors for kids that are high risk of having autism spectrum disorder. So one for the child sex. Boys are about 4 times more likely to develop autism spectrum disorder than girls are. Family history. Families who have one child with autism spectrum disorder have a higher risk of having another child with the disorder. It's also not uncommon for parents or relatives of a child with autism to have minor problems with social or communication skills themselves, or to engage with certain behaviors typical of the disorder. Also, kids with certain medical conditions that have higher than normal risk of autism. A few examples are Fragile X syndrome, an inherited disorder that causes intellectual problems. Tuberous sclerosis, a condition in which benign tumors develop in the brain. Also, Rett syndrome, which is a genetic condition occurring almost exclusively in girls, which causes slowly of head growth, intellectual disability, and loss of purposeful hand use. Another risk factor is babies born before 26 weeks of gestation. Now, there is no prevention to prevent autism, but there are treatment options. Now, that is all the information that I have, but however, this is one thing I will say about Robert F. Kennedy Jr. saying that autism is a disease. Number one, it's not a disease. And that is the issue that I have, because recently, there was a young boy who had autism. He was shot by the cops 9 times. And the issue is that, officers do not know how to handle certain situations. Not only that, but they don't care. When it comes to people with disabilities or disorders and mental illnesses, you can call 911 and be like, hey, this person having a mental breakdown. And so, no, they're not going to handle it with respect and care. They're not going to do it. They're just going to go out there and pow, 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 even though this person really needs help. And the fact that he stood there and called it a disease, even though officers know it's not a disease, but they don't care anyway because they don't do their job. I feel like with what just happened with the kid with autism, I hope that it does not give cops the big head to think, oh, it's just disease because of what Robert F. Kennedy Jr. just said, even though we all know it's not. But still, it's bad. And not only that, but this man is literally giving out false information, and he's running the Human and Health Services. I'm telling you right now, this department is about to be spilling a lot of freaking lies. I don't trust anything that's about to come out. Honestly, if there is anything on pandemic or disease or any type of flu or whatever going out there, virus, I'm like, I do not trust this administration. This man literally just called autism a disease. Hell, I mean, this is literally what people voted for. That is the sad part about it, because they wanted their white privilege so badly. I'm like, okay, so I'm really not surprised with what his dumb dingy behind said, because Trump even said in his first term that COVID-19 was a hoax and that people should inject themselves with bleach. So yeah, I'm really not surprised, but it's like the amount of stupid that just comes out of their mouth, it's insane. It's like, what the heck? And you look at humanity and you look at all the voters like, y'all really voted for this? Are you kidding me? And the only thing is, the only excuse that they have that they're not gonna say is, oh, we voted for our white privilege. So you mean to tell me you would rather put your health online for your damn white privilege? How a lot of these people in America will not even make it in the next freaking 4 years because you got this idiot running Human and Health Services. And we didn't even hit a year yet. And some people was like, oh my God, y'all, when Trump won, people was like, it's only 4 years, y'all. It's only 4 years. Sweetheart, a lot of us ain't got 4 years. I don't think y'all realize. Do y'all not realize who the heck is in office? And that is exactly what I'm talking about. You get what you voted for. These people literally voted for this mess. And it really would not surprise me if some people that have autism or some people that have family members or friends with autism voted for Trump. It would not surprise me, because in his first term, he made fun of a guy with a disability, and people still voted for him. So I was like, yeah, y'all dumb. But hey, when you racist, you really don't care. But that is all that I have to say. And now I'm going to get into the Black History fact. The Black History Month for today will be about Pauli Murray. She was an author, lawyer, and women's rights activist, and the first Black person to earn a Doctor of the Science of Law degree from Yale. She was also the first Black woman to ordain Episcopal priest. Pauli Murray wrote a lot of essays, poems, and books. One called Negroes Are Fed Up, Dark Testament, States Laws on Race and Color, were essential foundational works of the Civil Rights Movement. Pauli Murray co-founded the Congress of Racial Equality and the National Organization for Women in 1966, along other feminists, and was appointed to President John F. Kennedy's Committee on Civil and Political Rights. So that is all for today. Thank you everyone for listening to my podcast, and I hope y'all have a lovely day.